You ever hear a piece of news so gut-wrenching it feels like someone ripped the air out of your lungs? Like you're free falling, and there's no bottom? That's what hit me when I found out Ethan Caldwell, my best friend of a decade, stole my startup idea and left me in the dust. I'm Christopher, 32, from Seattle, and this is the raw, messy truth about how I got my revenge. I'm not proud of every step, but I'm not sorry either. This is the kind of story you don't tell at parties. It's too heavy, too real. But here I am, spilling it all, because I need you to understand what it's like to lose everything and fight to take it back. Ethan and I met in college, bonding over late-night coding sessions and cheap beer. He was the charismatic one, the guy who could talk his way into anything. I was the grinder, the one who'd stay up until 3 a.m., debugging code or sketching out ideas. By 2018, we were both stuck in soul-sucking tech jobs, dreaming of something bigger. I'd been working on an idea for years, a platform that used AI to revolutionize supply chain management for small businesses. It wasn't just a concept. I had wireframes, a 60-page business plan, and chunks of code I'd written in my spare time. Ethan was my partner in crime, or so I thought. We'd spend nights at my apartment, Chinese takeout boxes scattered around, hashing out features. "Christopher, this is our ticket," he'd say, his eyes gleaming. "We're gonna change the game." Then, in early 2020, he vanished. No calls, no texts, just silence. I thought maybe he was dealing with personal stuff, a breakup, family drama. I left voicemails, sent emails, even drove by his place once, but his lights were off. I was worried, but life kept me busy, so I let it slide. Then, one gray February morning, my phone buzzed with an email from our mutual friend, Sarah. The subject line was just, "You need to see this." Attached was a link to a tech news site. The headline stopped my heart: Caldwell Analytics launches game-changing supply chain platform. I clicked, my hands trembling. There it was, my platform, my designs, my code, all dressed up in a shiny new logo under Ethan's name. He'd raised $2 million in seed funding, and I wasn't mentioned anywhere. I scrolled through the article, my vision blurring. He'd erased me. I dug deeper, and that's when I found the forged documents. Ethan had filed incorporation papers for Caldwell Analytics, listing himself as the sole founder. He'd backdated emails to make it look like I'd never been involved, even faked a signature on a contract that supposedly released my contributions. I sat on my couch, staring at my laptop, feeling like I'd been punched in the soul. This wasn't just betrayal, it was theft, calculated and cold. I wanted to scream, to drive to his fancy new office and smash his smug face into his desk. But as the shock faded, a different feeling settled in, sharp and unyielding. I wasn't going to let him win. I was going to make him pay, no matter what it took. But where do you even start when your best friend has already stolen your dream and run with it? I'm not the kind of guy who cries easily, but that night, I came close. The betrayal burned, but the idea of Ethan getting away with it, that was unbearable. I couldn't just sit there, stewing in my tiny Seattle apartment, letting him live my dream. I needed to fight back, and I needed to be smart about it. My first call was to my cousin, Matt, a paralegal who'd seen his share of messy disputes. I poured out the whole story, my voice shaking as I described Ethan's forged documents. Matt didn't sugarcoat it. "Christopher, you've got a case, but you need hard evidence," he said. "Emails, drafts, anything that proves you were part of this from the start. Without it, you're just a guy with a grudge." I turned my apartment into a war room. I'm a bit of a digital hoarder, which turned out to be my saving grace. I had years of Google Docs with my business plan, Slack chats where Ethan and I brainstormed features, even some old texts where he called me the genius behind the project. I found a notebook stuffed in a drawer, filled with sketches of our user interface, dated 2017. Best of all, I had a private GitHub repository with my early code timestamped long before Ethan's company launched. Every file was a piece of my soul, proof that this was mine. I spent nights organizing it all, my eyes burning from the screen, fueled by coffee and rage. Each document felt like a brick in the wall I was building against him. I hired a lawyer, Lisa Nguyen, who specialized in intellectual property. She was a bulldog, sharp, direct, and not cheap. I maxed out 2 credit cards to cover her retainer, but she was worth it. Lisa laid out the plan: we'd sue Ethan for intellectual property theft and fraud, claiming I was a co-founder wrongfully excluded. She warned me it'd be a long fight. Ethan had money, investors, and a legal team that could bury us in paperwork. But my GitHub repo was our trump card. "This is solid," Lisa said, scrolling through my code commits. "He can't fake those timestamps." We filed the lawsuit in April 2020, and I'll never forget the moment I got confirmation that Ethan had been served. I pictured his face, that cocky grin faltering. He sent me a text that night: "Christopher, this is a mistake. Let's talk." I didn't respond. Talking was over. But a lawsuit wasn't enough. Ethan's company was already out there, signing clients, getting press. I wanted to hit him where it hurt his business. I started poking around, calling old coworkers, pretending I was just catching up. One guy, Derek, mentioned that Caldwell Analytics had rushed their launch, and clients were already grumbling about bugs. That sparked an idea. If I could build something better, something that actually worked, I could take him down from the outside while the lawsuit hit him from the inside. But to do that, I needed to know exactly what he was doing. And that meant getting closer to his operation than I'd ever imagined. What I didn't know was how deep I'd have to go to make it happen. I'm not gonna lie, some of what I did next makes me uneasy when I think about it. Revenge has a way of pulling you into gray areas, places where you question who you're becoming. But when you've been betrayed like I was, you don't care about clean hands. You just want to win. To beat Ethan, I needed to know everything about Caldwell Analytics: how their platform worked, who their clients were, where they were vulnerable. He wasn't dumb enough to leave that stuff lying around, so I had to get creative. And yeah, I crossed some lines. I started by creating a fake identity, Ryan Parker, a supply chain consultant with a slick LinkedIn profile. I used a stock photo for the headshot, built a resume that screamed industry expert, and started joining online forums and groups where Ethan's team hung out. I'd comment on posts, share articles, and slowly work my way into their world. It felt like a game at first, like I was playing spy. But every time I saw Ethan's name on a press release or a conference agenda, the anger came roaring back. He was living my life, and I was going to take it apart. In June 2021, I saw Ethan was speaking at a supply chain tech conference in San Francisco. I bought a ticket, flew down, and walked into that convention center as Ryan Parker. Seeing him on stage, all polished and confident, talking about his vision, made my stomach twist. I wanted to shout, "That's my idea, you thief." But I kept my cool, blending into the crowd, asking questions about Caldwell Analytics like I was just another curious attendee. I struck up a conversation with one of Ethan's developers, Tyler Brooks, at the hotel bar. Tyler was young, overworked, and clearly fed up. Over a couple of beers, he spilled about Ethan's micromanaging and how the platform's AI was riddled with bugs. I nodded, bought him another round, and slipped him my burner phone number, saying I might have opportunities for someone like him. Back in Seattle, I upped the ante. I found a freelancer, let's call him Nate, who was willing to do some light hacking for cash. Nothing too illegal, just exploiting Ethan's sloppy security. Nate got me access to some unsecured cloud folders where Caldwell Analytics stored client lists, pitch decks, and internal memos. One memo admitted they'd rushed the launch to secure funding, knowing the platform wasn't ready. It was gold proof of their weaknesses. I started mapping out a plan to use this against him, but I knew I had to be careful. One wrong move, and I could end up in deeper trouble than Ethan. The question was, how far was I willing to go to make sure he crashed and burned? By late 2021, I was done playing spy. It was time to fight fire with fire. I launched my own startup, Solutions, with every cent I had left. I cashed out my 401k, took out a $50,000 business loan, and rented a cramped office in Bellevue that smelled like old carpet. My first hire was Tyler, the developer I'd met in San Francisco. He was sick of Ethan's chaos and jumped at my offer of a better salary and a real voice in the company. I didn't tell him about the lawsuit or my history with Ethan, I just said I was building a better supply chain platform. Tyler didn't need to know my war was personal, he just wanted a boss who'd treat him right. We built solutions from the ground up, using my original code as the foundation but making it leaner, more reliable. Ethan's platform was all flash fancy demos to wow investors but shaky under the hood. Mine was built for clients who valued results over hype. I used Nate's intel to target Ethan's clients, offering free trials and personalized demos that highlighted our edge. Some were hesitant, loyal to Ethan's charm, but others, fed up with his bugs, signed on. Every contract felt like a jab to Ethan's ribs. I didn't stop there. I poached more of his team, 2 engineers and a marketing lead offering equity and a vision they could believe in. By early 2022, I had a team of 8 and a growing client list. The lawsuit was still grinding along, draining my bank account and my sanity. Lisa, my lawyer, was a pit bull, but Ethan's legal team was relentless, filing motions to delay and digging into my past for dirt. There were nights I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was crazy to think I could win. My parents called, worried I was letting this consume me. "Christopher, you're not yourself," my mom said. I brushed it off, but deep down, I knew she was right. This wasn't just about justice anymore, it was about making Ethan feel the same pain I did. Every client I stole, every employee I poached, was a step toward that goal. But then I got a call that forced me to face how far I'd gone and whether I could live with it. By mid-2022, Solutions was picking up steam. We had 15 clients, a polished product, and buzz in the industry. Caldwell Analytics, meanwhile, was starting to crack. Clients were leaving, frustrated by glitches and Ethan's inability to deliver on his promises. Industry blogs posted lukewarm reviews, and I heard whispers that his investors were getting antsy. I could have stopped there, let the lawsuit and my growing business do the rest. But I wanted more. I wanted the world to know what Ethan had done, not just to me, but to everyone who trusted him. I'd been sitting on a leaked memo from Nate's hack, one where Ethan's team admitted they'd launched a half-baked product to beat competitors to market. It was damning, but a leak wasn't enough. I wanted it to hurt. I reached out to Mia Chen, a tech journalist with a reputation for exposing shady startups. I sent her everything, the memo, my original business plan, GitHub screenshots, and a detailed timeline of Ethan's betrayal. I spent hours on the phone with her, reliving every moment, my voice raw with anger and hurt. Mia was cautious but intrigued. After weeks of fact-checking, she published her article, "The Stolen Startup: How One Founder Betrayed His Best Friend." The story exploded. It was shared across forums, picked up by bigger outlets, and dissected by industry insiders. Ethan's investors issued a statement distancing themselves, and more clients jumped ship. My inbox filled with messages, some calling me a hero, others saying I was petty for going public. Old friends cut me off, thinking I'd gone too far. My sister texted, "Christopher, this isn't you." Even Lisa worried the publicity could make me look vindictive in court. I started to wonder if I'd crossed a line, if I was letting revenge turn me into someone I didn't recognize. Then Ethan called, his voice shaky, asking to meet. He sounded like a man on the edge, and I couldn't help but wonder what he'd say when he saw me face to face. I agreed to meet Ethan at a quiet coffee shop in downtown Seattle, a neutral spot where neither of us could make a scene. He looked like a ghost of the guy I used to know, pale, unshaven, his usual swagger replaced by a nervous twitch. I sat across from him, my coffee untouched, watching him fidget. "Christopher," he started, his voice low, "this has gone too far. Let's work it out." He admitted to using my ideas but swore it wasn't personal, just a chance he couldn't pass up. He offered me a deal, a silent partnership in Caldwell Analytics if I dropped the lawsuit and stopped poaching his clients. His desperation was palpable, and for a second, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. I leaned back, letting the silence stretch until he squirmed. "You think I want a piece of your mess?" I said. "I built something better, Ethan. Something you can't touch." I told him about solutions, how we were signing his clients, hiring his team, and growing while his company sank. His face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. I walked out, leaving him with the bill and a truth he couldn't dodge: he'd lost. A month later, the lawsuit turned in my favor. Lisa presented our evidence: the GitHub repo, the forged documents, even Tyler's testimony about Ethan's corner cutting. The judge ruled I was a co-founder, awarding me damages that forced Ethan to sell shares to pay me. Caldwell Analytics was hemorrhaging money, and by early 2023, it filed for bankruptcy. Solutions, meanwhile, was soaring. We'd signed major clients, raised $3 million in funding, and I was finally out of debt. I'd won, but the victory left a bitter taste. I'd gotten everything I wanted, but at what price? I was about to find out. It's July 2025, and I'm sitting in a corner office, CEO of Solutions, a company now valued at $12 million. We've got 60 employees, clients across North America, and a reputation for reliability that Ethan could only dream of. He's a nobody now, working some mid-level gig at a logistics firm, his startup a cautionary tale in tech circles. I got my justice, my money, my revenge. But late at night, when the office is quiet and it's just me and my thoughts, I wonder what it all cost. I don't trust people like I used to. Every new hire, every handshake, I'm waiting for the knife. My old friends, the ones who knew Ethan and me, mostly drifted away. They saw the articles, heard the rumors, and decided I was too ruthless. My family worries I've changed, and maybe they're right. I replay the choices I made: the spying, the poaching, the public takedown, and wonder if I could have built my company without destroying his. Would I be happier if I'd let it go? Maybe. But every time I see our logo, every time a client thanks me for saving their business, I feel a spark of pride. Ethan thought he could erase me, but I erased him. Still, there's a part of me that's waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe it's guilt, maybe it's paranoia, but I can't shake the feeling that revenge leaves scars you don't see until later. I got my dream, but I lost my best friend, not just to his betrayal, but to the war I waged to make him pay. Was it worth it? I'm still figuring that out.